Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's the 10th of August. We're coming out of our morning recess. It's 1:01 p.m. For the purpose of hearing land use items. Amanda, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Thayer?
Here.
Commissioner Pettit?
Here.
Alrighty, and just again, with the air conditioners and fan running, it can be a little hard to hear in here, so please use your mics and wave if I fall off of mine too. We've got 4 items to hear today. Variety of types of application. One is a EDZ site plan, one is 2 are rezones, and one is an SUR. All the hearings generally follow the same structure. The staff will present the application. We'll invite the applicant to speak or add. We may have questions of either, then we'll open for public comment. After public comment, we may have additional questions for staff. The comments are to us, not directly to staff, but we'll follow up on issues that are raised before coming to a decision. After public comment is closed, we may approve with recommendations, deny, or if we feel we need more information before a decision can be made, we could continue any of the hearings, but that's the general scheme that all will follow. The first item we have is Elbert County Public Works EDZ site plan, and I'd accept a motion to open public hearing on this item.
I'll make a motion. We open the public hearing in Elbert County Public Works EDZ site plan, case EZS 22-0030.
Second.
A motion and a second to hear EZS 22-0030. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we're in public hearing. Like I said, this one's a little unique because for 2 reasons. One, it's within the EDZ, so there's actually site plan approval that happens at the Board of County Commissioners level. And then secondly, it's our own county application to ourselves to support a new public workshop. But with that, Stephen, I'll pass the mic on to you.
I'm Stephen Hayes, Senior Planner with the Community and Development Services Department of Elbert County. This presentation is about the Public Works Road and Bridge Economic Development Zone Site Plan for a shop facility. It's located at 11330 State Highway 86. The landowner is Elbert County government. There is a minor plat to combine the 2 parcels handled administratively, which is not part of this hearing. The sign was posted on July 19th for the hearing. Newspaper notice was published on July 21st, 2022, and notice mailed to landowners on July 19th, 2022. So they've been completed in requirements of the regulations. The road and bridge shop site is located on State Highway 86, immediately east of Kiowa and east of the U.S. Post Office and school property. There's 1,800 acres of agricultural south of the location. There's a 41-acre agricultural site with a home east of the project, and there's hay sales and the fire training ground kind of northeast of this, or northwest of this site. Existing zoning is agricultural A on this southern parcel, and residential agricultural RA along the highway frontage. Both parcels are located in an economic development zone, kind of EDZ for short. The Elbert County Comprehensive Plan update of 2018 policy ID4 encourages nodal type development. The town of Kiowa makes a good node for this project to be part of. The 2 parcels are to be combined into one with a minor plat amendment to be handled administratively. A separate proposal to rezone the 2 parcels to industrial will come before the board from the Planning Commission next month. That rezoning is not required to review the EDZ site plan. The shop is a 43,000 square foot building located on the west side of the parcel. The east portion of the site is available for future expansion. Light vehicle, employee, and visitor parking will be along the front. Heavy vehicle storage and equipment will be stored behind the building. There's a salt and sand structure, hopefully you can see me kind of where I'm wiggling here, on the rear of the property. There's a fueling site with the tanks and the pumps for fueling vehicles, sort of rear of the building in the middle. There are 2 detention ponds in the front and the rear planned for the site. Most of the activities on this site will occur inside the building service bays. There's maintenance bays and vehicle bays inside the building. This will buffer the noise and contain any disturbances. Generally, most referral agencies did not object to the Public Works Road and Bridges EDZ site development plan. The sewer, water, and electrical providers require that the final locations of the utilities have easements reflected on the site and utilities plan. The utility easement will be, a utility easement will be required along the front of the lot to accommodate a sewer main extension to the east if ever needed. Article 3H4 of the zoning regulations lists 8 criteria for the board to consider. These are: A, whether the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. This proposed facility is east of and adjacent to the town of Kiowa. Kiowa has a mixture of commercial, residential, schools, and retail businesses. In addition, the town is the Elbert County seat and is the location of numerous government facilities. The road and bridge shop facility is already located within Kiowa and will just be moving to this new site. So it's really already part of the neighborhood. B, whether the use will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure subject to mitigation. This site development and application has provided evidence of adequate access, parking, sewer and water, fire protection, and utilities. C, whether the use will not unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. The applicant has provided a traffic study which concludes on page 18, with the addition of projected traffic, the movements at the 86 and 134 intersection are anticipated to operate acceptably at level of service B or better throughout 2045. The State of Colorado Department of Transportation has issued an access permit. D, whether the use will not cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. Most of the shop and service activities will occur inside the building, buffering air, noise, or odor. Stormwater will be contained by retention ponds proposed to be built on the site. The Elbert County zoning regulations specify in Article 8J2 that lighting shall not cast glare on adjacent property or roads. The applicant provided a lighting and illumination plan showing very little illumination spilling outside any of the project's lot lines. E, whether all sanitation requirements will be met. Kiowa Water and Wastewater District has affirmed that they will be providing water and wastewater services to this site and building. F, whether the use will be adequately landscaped, buffered, and screened. The property will be fenced and gated. Applicant is planning on xeriscaping and evergreens in the front. Staff suggests applicant consider allowing donations of trees or memorial landscaping along the street front or building entranceway. Provision for additional landscaping and screening in the future should be accommodated by providing an irrigation drip system stub in front of the building. G, whether the use will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present inhabitants of Elbert County. The providing of road and bridge services, including snow removal, grading, road and bridge fleet maintenance of county vehicles, is an improvement and not a detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of Elbert County residents. These shop facilities are considered an essential service. Whether supplemental standards are met for specific uses as applicable. The building design and architecture are appropriate for this style building in this part of the county. This is the exterior elevation of the building drawing for the shop. The commercial industrial style building has a painted metal exterior on all 4 sides. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners find the following. 1, the proposal is in conformance with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. The proposal meets the criteria for approval in the Elbert County zoning regulations. The proposal is compatible with existing and allowable land uses in the surrounding area. The proposal will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and landowners of the surrounding area. Therefore, Community and Development Services recommend the board approve the EDZ site development plan for the Public Works Road and Bridge Shop, case EZS 22030, subject to the following conditions. The applicant will be required to move the public hearing sign within 7 days. The approval shall not become effective until all fees are paid and conditions of approval are met. The filing of the minor plat amendment with the changes and addition of the necessary easements shall be completed with 180 days. Recording of all appropriate documentation to occur within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. Per CDOT permit, the access is to align with County Road 134. Kiowa water and wastewater standards and specifications for water and sewer locations need to be met. And an irrigation stub to allow extension in the future for landscaping and screening. Thank you, Chairman Richardson and County Board. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions or comments? Yeah, again, I know there's several steps here, and we kind of got out of sequence our original intent. Though the county as a local government is exempt from much of our zoning regulations, we had directed that we'd put ourselves through the same processes we would any citizen or applicant. I know our preference, and I think there's been, with the staff turnover, our preference would have been to rezone initially and proceed to probably the what would have been an administrative site plan, but I understand with the timing and getting contracts in place as inflation was driving up numbers also kind of drove us to work in an expedient way to make sure we're still meeting our own standards, and the building department has what they need as a site plan to operate off of for building permits, etc. So appreciate you getting this to us today. I mean, it's part of what's been the county plan for quite a while, but I would at this point open up for public comment. Do we have any public comment on this, sir? Yeah, if you could just, your name and address for the record and 3 minutes of comments if you wish.
Yeah, just my first time here, so if I get out of St. let me know.
Yeah.
My name is Ken Turnbull.
Okay.
My address is 7651 Carolyn Drive, Castle Rock, 80108. And I own 100 acres immediately east of this property on the other side of 86, in between 86 and 134. And I'd just like to say I'm strongly in favor of this approval. I think moving the Center for Bridge and Road more central to the county is going to be a huge advantage, not only for providing service, but I would suggest also for the employees when they're driving to and from their work. I do have a question, not really a concern, as to, if I understand correctly, the land is currently in Elbert County and will remain in Elbert County. Is there any plus or minus as to whether or not to annex into the town of Kiowa? And it's just a curiosity as to why it was not annexed when the other departments are coming out of the Kiowa City into the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Was there any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none, and Amanda, we had nobody that wanted to be called or had email comment. Thank you. Yeah, so just in answer to your question, sir, just expedience. If it stays unincorporated, our own building department, our own inspectors are also the ones that are managing the project and overseeing the project. And Kiowa is a small town and doesn't really take on big projects often through those departments. So we are coordinating with the water authority in town for the water support of it. But as you said, I do think it's replacing the 84-year-old small shop that's behind this building that puts traffic onto the town roads and that lower part of Kiowa Bennett. This also will allow us to move the material stockpiles at the north end of the fairgrounds off and provide for future improvements potentially to the fairgrounds that are taken up. So, any other comments or questions?
No, the only other comment is that, as Commissioner Richardson pointed out, the existing facility we have is beyond its useful life. There's safety issues and there's other access issues. And also the size of the building was built for equipment when it was much smaller. So getting equipment in and out of it is a very big challenge. So this is one of those things that its time has come.
I think that's pretty much all the discussions. I would accept a motion on this.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the Elbert County Public Works EDZ site plan case EZS-22-0030 as presented, with the conditions of approval.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the application as presented with the conditions. I guess it's our application, so we do accept the conditions. Yeah. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Like I said, that one's a little odd because, you know,
I'll make a motion, we close public hearing on Elbert County Public Works EDZ site plan, EZS 22-0030.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close public hearing on the EDZ site plan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll give them a few moments for staff to reset, and then we'll be discussing the Huck rezone case. I guess our Huck rezone applicant is actually en route, so we're going to proceed to the Ptarmigan rezone.
If we're ready to get going, I can present on the Ptarmigan rezone now. Sure.
Thank you, Matthew. Let me just open the hearing. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd accept a motion to open public hearing on the Ptarmigan rezone.
I'll make a motion, we open public hearing on a Ptarmigan rezone case RZ-22-0006.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to open public hearing on the Ptarmigan rezone, case RZ 22-0006. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're in public hearing. Matthew, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, commissioners and guests. This is a Ptarmigan rezone, case number RZ220006. This is a rezoning request from Agriculture A to Agriculture Residential on 2 parcels addressed 43510 and 43520 Ptarmigan Ranch Street, addressed from Parker. And generally, the location of this property, this map's a little better on paper, but the location of Ptarmigan is generally up here at the southwestern intersection of County Road 178 and 13. The landowner is Green Tree Land LLC. The applicant rep is CJ Kirst of Tahoe Consulting. Initially, a pre-application was held on May 13th of last year, and a community meeting was conducted over Zoom in June. An application was formally filed with CDS on February 23rd of 2022. This hearing had a Planning Commission date of August 2nd, where the Planning Commission recommended approval of this rezoning. What I would like to speak to is the noticing that might have led to this being delayed. There was some confusion over the newspaper posting. It wasn't discussed with the applicant which newspaper was to be posted in, and generally with the change of the paper of record at the beginning of the year, that was not fully detailed. So ultimately, this project was continued from July 19th to the 2nd. We maintained the board date of August 10th, but that was to accommodate that newspaper notification. So in looking at the zoning map here, this is a predominantly agricultural area. However, it's an area where there has been development occurring over the last 10 or so years with the Spring Valley Ranch development, as well as some other developments in the areas in Parker Highlands, Cherry Ridge, and some other minor developments, perhaps in Rambling Rose Estates or Wild Rose Estates, that are in relative proximity. But the overall balance of properties in the area, or at least the trend that we're seeing, is generally for these 35-acre parcels to be pursued in this area. And looking at the aerial in general, this is an area that has been slated for development, but development is slowly coming into this area, more or less. Upon the rezoning of this property, the desire would be to subdivide it into potentially 8 lots, but a minor plat is not, or a major plat for that matter, is not being considered with this request. It's just really to consider the applicability of the AR zoning on this, these 2 subject parcels. So I'm looking at some of the site specifics. Again, like I said, we're intending down the road for this to be subdivided into approximately 8 lots. For the level of detail that we require with a rezoning application, we'd like to have an understanding of how the property will be accessed. Because this will be subdivided in the future, having an understanding of the access available is sensible to CDS. We worked with the applicant to, one, identify mainly that there's this easement area that was set aside when this property was divided into 35 some time ago. But there was a desire on the part of the applicant to consider access on this side from County Road 13. So we wanted to at least entertain that dialogue, even though we're not approving or considering access at this point. I did provide some documentation as to what would need to be done for County Road 13 access for this future subdivision. I provided some detail in there, but generally the Public Works Director weighed in and said that we'd need paved aprons for those access points, and I think it'll be approximately 3 access points, 2 driveways, and a local road. And in general, I have this blue dot up here in the corner, and I will touch on it on this slide. Mainly that the Colorado Division of Resources identified that this blue dot up in the northeastern corner of the property, that it has some properties of a stormwater detention facility, and if it's desired for that to be used in such way, that they should be notified and appropriate permits be pursued for that. In general, the only other referral comment of note was that the assessor's office had identified how the parcels were defined on the rezone, that we clearly labeled it. It's not an 87-acre piece, but instead 2 separate parcels that consist of this rezoning area. So I'm looking at the review criteria for a zoning or a rezoning application. We have 6 criteria to consider in our review. Criteria A is whether the proposed rezoning conforms with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. And really what I've been finding with a number of these requests that we've considered in this year at the very least is that our vision statement within the comprehensive plan is clear to encourage not only residential growth, but growth in other various aspects as well. And considering a density change in this particular area would generally meet that modest residential growth that the comprehensive plan is envisioning. So in looking at the proposed rezoning in terms of compatibility with surrounding land uses, as I've said in this presentation, this area is predominantly agricultural, but there have been a number of proposals that have been approved to increase the density in this area and essentially put in more roofs. Whether or not it's compatible with the pre-existing agricultural pieces or the larger density in perhaps Spring Valley or some of the other subdivisions in the area, I'd prefer to think of it in the way that this provides an orderly transition of density between some of those highest in Spring Valley to some of those agricultural parcels so that we have a little bit more break in between the roofs in that area. And looking at criteria C, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact public services, based on our referral that we completed, we didn't receive any responses that would lead us to believe that there would be a severe impact to public services. And the same goes with the impact to the environment, that our referral agencies did not provide us comments that would lead us to believe that there would be an adverse environmental impact with what would ultimately be an 8-lot subdivision in the future. Criteria E, whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion. In that consideration, we would look at, what that full build out would be for 8 lots and whether that would rise to the level of improvements being made. And that's also noting that County Road 13 and 178 has been paved through there, and we have relatively new access available to those properties when that development occurs, that the belief is that traffic congestion would not be anticipated with this rezoning. And in general, whether the rezoning would have an impact significantly to the health, safety, or welfare of present or future inhabitants of Elbert County, staff believes, based on our thorough review, that there would be no adverse impacts to health, safety, or welfare of county residents in this area. With that in mind, staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners find the following: that the proposal is in general conformance with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan, that the proposal meets the criteria for approval in the Elbert County zoning regulations, that the proposal is compatible with existing and allowable land uses in the surrounding area, and that the proposal will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and landowners of the surrounding area. In general, the Planning Commission recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve the requested Ptarmigan rezone, subject to the following 3 conditions: that the applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within a week of this decision, that a rezoning shall not become effective until fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the exhibit is recorded with the clerk and recorder, and generally that this recordation of documentation occurs within 180 days of approval. And that will conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Matthew. Do we have any questions for staff at this time? No? Okay. CJ, did you have anything else to add on the rezone portion of this?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. CJ Kurz, Tahoe Consulting, 5730 East Otero Avenue, Suite 200, Centennial, Colorado, 80112. I just want to reiterate one thing Matt said. We did really want to make sure everybody understands that we want access to come from 13 and not through Ptarmigan. So that is why we kind of pursued that more and more with Public Works and with planning, just to make sure everybody understands that was our intent all along. We don't have any other items to bring up. Matt did a good job of explaining everything, and we support the conditions of approval.
Thank you. Questions? Or
Just an odd observation. County Road 13 there is in a warranty period. So that's one of the things when you come with for your subdivision stuff, you've got to make sure that between Public Works and the warranty and that those things are reviewed.
Yes.
And because we don't really own the road yet, although we've taken sort of control of it, but it's still in a 2-year warranty period.
Yep, understood.
Just more curiosity, not the rezoning, but what's your timing on moving the subdivision application through?
I haven't really been given any. Typically, when I come here, I'm doing both. So this was kind of an odd scenario, but the landowner said that he just wanted to take it one step at a time. So I just don't
seeking
know.
out a future
Yeah.
entitlement.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Guess at this time I'd open for public comment if there are any on this. See none in the room. Amanda, we didn't have any email or phone comment on this one, I don't believe. Okay, so with that, I'll close public comment. We did have the applicant's statement that they'd accept the conditions, so I would accept a motion on this.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Ptarmigan rezone case RZ-22-0006.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Ptarmigan rezone cases RZ 22-0006. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'd accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the hearing on Ptarmigan rezone RZ 22-0006.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and a second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Looks like we are ready to proceed, so I'd accept a motion to open rezone case 22-0013, the Huck rezone.
I'll make a motion, we open public hearing on Huck rezone case RZ-22-0013.
Second.
We have motion and a second to open public hearing on the Huck rezone. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. We're in public hearing. Matthew?
Commissioners and guests, this is the Huck rezone, RZ22-0013. This is a rezoning request from Agriculture 2 to Agriculture Residential AR at a location of 35055 County Road 17 in Elizabeth. And generally that location is just north of the stoplight at 17 and 86, just north of town. So the landowner and applicant is John Huck. We have concurrent review of a minor plat. That case number MP220014 will have an administrative decision tomorrow by the CDS director. A pre-application was held on December 16th of last year, and a community meeting was held on January 25th of 2022. A formal application was filed with CDS for review on March 24th of 2022. The Planning Commission heard this application on July 19th, and we are here for the Board of County Commissioners on the 10th. There was no discussion during the Planning Commission hearing, and it was a full vote of recommendation for approval for this application. And looking at the rezoning map, we got a lot of colors here. We're just outside of Elizabeth. We got a number of different densities and uses in this general vicinity. The one thing I would like to point you to is the fact that we have the running creek coming down generally through the edge of the property lines here, and I'll touch on that a little bit as we go on. But generally speaking, this is a part of a subdivision called the Smith-Huck subdivision. You might have seen that previously as the other lot within that subdivision came in for a similar type proposal within the last 3 years here to consider AR generally within this vicinity. But in general, we have a number of agricultural parcels that flank the running creek bed, as well as some of the larger subdivisions that piggyback that area in general, as well as the town of Elizabeth directly to the south. And in looking at the aerial map, predominantly the existing residence of the applicant is located at the front of the property, where the floodplain essentially covers about this portion of the property, roughly. But in general, there's been no development in this portion as well. So I'm looking at some of the site specifics that we have here. This is a 30-acre property, and in general, that the access has been approved for both lots to access the same driveway from County Road 17. touched on the Running Creek floodplain located in the back, and really that was something that was seen as beneficial to CDS in the consideration of the larger lot being located in the rear so that a larger build area potentially would be accessible with the larger lot in the rear of the subdivision. And in general, the subdivision that will be approved will be an amendment to the original Smith-Huck plat that was approved back in about 1997, I would like to say. And the property in general, and this is located in the color green, surrounds the former Elizabeth dump. The applicant owns this piece of property but has no plans to utilize this. It's not incorporated with the subdivision in any way. It's more or less just holding on to the property and not putting it to use, as there would be significant remediation required for that site. And in general, the existing residence would be located on this Lot 1A, and the desire is to build another residence on Lot 1B. So in looking at some of the referral responses that we received, there was some back and forth dialogue with the Division of Water Resources over clarification over the water supply, that an augmentation plan had been approved in the past, and it was really a matter of applying that to the county's 300-year standard. After some dialogue with DWR and the applicant's engineer, we were able to get to a point where the division was able to provide us with an adequacy letter. There were easements that were requested by Core Electric Cooperative that were put in on some of the more recent subdivision revisions that we had. A request of theirs for certain boundary easements to be placed on there. For the future lot that will be created that's undeveloped, the anticipation is that there will be a septic permit filed with the Public Health Department for that septic review. And in general, for residential fire flow for Elizabeth Fire Protection, typically applicants will pursue that $1,040 per lot impact fee, which I believe the applicant has agreed to do. Yep. So looking at the review criteria for a rezoning request, again, we'll look at whether the application is conforming and consistent with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. Similar to the analysis I gave for Ptarmigan, we'd like to look at the Elbert County Vision Statement as an encouragement for not only residential growth, but a wide arena of growth applicable to the surrounding area, of course. And I believe in that regard that it would be consistent with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. And in looking as to whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses, as I touched on the zoning page, we do have a lot of 35-plus acre parcels in the vicinity, but predominantly those properties have significant impact from the Running Creek floodplain, which may impact the development of those lots. But on the exterior of that floodplain, most of those properties have approached a very higher density over the years in some of those subdivision approvals from Bonnie Ridge, et cetera, in the area. In looking at whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact public services or even the environment, we were not given an indication from our referral agencies that there would be an adverse impact to either public services or the environment, as we both contact the Public Works folks as well as the Kiowa Conservation District, and we did not receive any comment back from them regarding those potential impacts on this site. In looking at whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements, really this comes down to whether the Elizabeth Fire Protection District and Public Works believe that the proposed traffic demand of another lot on this property would necessitate any improvements in the area, and it was essentially a combined response from them that adding an additional lot will not amount to any significant improvements needed on County Road 17. And in general, whether the proposed rezoning will not otherwise be detrimental to health, safety, or welfare of previous or future Elbert County inhabitants, staff has found that there should not be a significant impact based on the materials that we've reviewed with this application. With that being said, the Planning Commissioners recommend the Board of County Commissioners approve the requested Huck rezoning RZ 220013 based on the following findings, and that's that the proposal is in general conformance with the comprehensive plan, that the proposal meets the criteria for approval in the Elbert County zoning regulations. The proposal is compatible with existing and allowable land uses in the surrounding area. And finally, that the proposal will not result in a significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and landowners of the surrounding area. This approval would be subject to the following conditions. The applicant would be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of this decision, that this rezoning will not become effective until fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the rezone exhibit is recorded, and that this recordation will occur within 180 days of a Board of County Commissioners approval. And I'll conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Matthew. Do we have any questions for staff at this time? I'd invite the applicant up to provide any other additional information you feel we need, or?
Hello, Commissioners. First of all, let me apologize for being tardy. Sorry about that. One should not transcribe a 1 as a 7. I thought I was supposed to be here at 7 p.m. tonight.
Oh, okay.
I do not have any further comments. If you do, I'm glad to answer any questions, concerns.
Do you have anything? When I sympathize, as we are owner of an old landfill, so that hopefully doesn't cause any issues in the future. One, do you have any issues with the conditions that were recommended? Okay, thank you for that. And then just curious, at the community meeting that was held prior to, were there any strong concerns?
I would have loved to have seen more attendance.
Okay.
In the quarter-mile area required. I believe there was 22 individuals invited that I mailed to. One person showed up. That person was not even one of those that was invited. He was someone who lived down the road, saw the rezoning sign, decided to just check in because he was interested in doing the same thing. Yeah, I wish there had actually been more. I would love to have known more about what my neighbors thought.
Okay, well, I was going to say, it seems like a relatively low impact.
Yeah. There were, just so you know, there were 2 email responses. Both were congratulatory in nature. One was a realtor in Bonnie Ridge who said, "Hey, I applaud what you're doing. Good luck." The other was a person who said, "I have no, opinion on the matter and wish you the best of luck going forward."
And again, kind of outside the scope, but since it's a very lengthy shared driveway access, if you haven't set covenants of your own, then I don't know what the intended use is, but I'd make sure for a shared driveway access like that, you do have some controls in place if there's any future disputes.
Yeah, as I've been looking at this, making sure that, number one, the impact initial lot was minimal. Obviously, trying to follow the north property line will be where the additional access will be created. It will be on 50 feet approximately of the original address, and then fork off and go from there. I have had that surveyed and do have a site plan ready.
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, a little outside the scope, but I know that's
Absolutely.
generally we're just try to, if we can, prevent future neighbor disputes.
Absolutely, and I have great neighbors, and I totally agree.
Okay, thank you. I guess at this point I'd open it up for any public comment. Seeing none in the room, I don't believe we had any email or phone requests. So with that, I would close public comment, and you said you would accept the conditions, so I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the Huck rezone RZ 22-0013 with the applicant accepting the conditions of approval.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second for approval with the conditions as stated. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Sir, thank you. With that, I'd accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
I'll make a motion, we close public hearing in Huck rezone RZ-22-0013.
Second.
A motion and a second to close public hearing on the Huck rezone. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Matthew, if you'd indulge me for a moment, I'm just going to call a quick recess. I've got to go take care of something.
Sure.
All righty, it's 1:50, returning from recess. Amanda, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Richardson,
Here.
Commissioner Thayer,
Here.
Commissioner Pettit,
Here.
All righty, we're returning from recess to hear a use by special review for the Crick World Cricket Sports Fields. I'd accept a motion to open public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we open public hearing on Crick World Cricket Fields, SU-22-0005.
Second.
Motion and second to open public hearing for SU 22-0005. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Matthew again.
All right, commissioners and guests, this will be the presentation for Crick World Sports Fields, SUR, case number SU 22-0005. The location in general is ultimately just to the east of the town of Elbert, located towards the end of County Road 41 from County Road 102. And again, this is a special use by review request, and ultimately the action is to consider what the zoning code identifies as a park and recreation area private use on an agriculturally zoned parcel located at 24251 Crick World Street in Elbert. The landowner and applicant is Raja Mandega, who is here today. The pre-application was held on December 16th of 2021. A community meeting was held in Elizabeth on January 24th, 2022, and a formal application was filed with CDS on February 24th of 2022. Planning Commission heard this hearing on August 2nd, and the Board of County Commissioners will hear this and decide today on August 10th. In regards to the notification, this has had several notification dates. It was identified by a surrounding landowner that notification was not completed properly, to which staff identified that an additional sign, one should have been placed at the corner of the property and then one at the end of county road maintenance. So after that error was completed, we received guidance from the county attorney as to which hearing would be applicable if all forms of notification would need to be redone. That's why there was a secondary planning commission day of the 19th under the assumption that just replacing the sign notification would have been acceptable. Upon the guidance we received, we completed all three forms of notification again for the August 2nd hearing. In the planning commission hearing itself, there was a number of public comments that were received and significant discussion by the board, which I tried to cover in my staff report for you all. Ultimately, what occurred at the end of that meeting was a motion to approve and a vote of 3-3, where the motion ultimately did not pass for a recommendation of approval. At that point, the commissioners did not prepare another motion at all, not to deny, not to modify conditions or anything of that nature. So essentially, as I've identified it, the Planning Commission did not recommend approval of this application as a result of that hearing. So going back to some of the site conditions, I'll cover a number of details relatively in response to the Planning Commission to cover a number of the questions and issues that were raised there. This is generally the site. It's located in a predominantly agricultural area where we have a number of large exceeding section area size properties, and a number of which that are relatively within the 35-acre range in the area. But predominantly, this is an agricultural large parcel area, at least 2 miles from the town of Elizabeth to the east. In looking at the aerial map, this property has not been developed yet. It is relatively no ground cover for the most part other than native seed. And I believe at the Planning Commission we did have a public comment from the property owner to the north as well, which was covered in the staff report as well. In general, the shared access, and I'll cover this more on the following slides, will follow generally this course into the property, directly affecting the property owner to the north. So in looking at some of the site and use specifics, some of the details I provided during the Planning Commission hearing, that this proposal is a consideration of 3 cricket fields, a parking area, and a 3,000 square foot structure, which ultimately would serve as restrooms, locker areas, and potentially be used for youth training. Parking includes 40 stalls with the opportunity to add additional parking to the south if necessary. And really what made the parking conversation difficult is that our parking regulations are stipulated on building size. If we calculate a count based off of the building, we'd be left with approximately 12 parking spaces. There really isn't a provision to address how a park or even a sports field would be considered within the parking code. Upon discussing with the applicant, we arrived on a number based on the traffic letter we received and, the site specifics with the building itself, that 40 stalls would be acceptable at this phase. And if additional action needs to be taken, we have conditioned in the approval that if the zoning compliance official has concerns with the amount of parking available for that use, that can be revisited at a later time and establish an additional parking area if that is found to be insufficient. In general, the applicant has identified the potential for 2 part-time employees for property and building maintenance, that has been a major asset, I suppose, to this particular application, that not only do the fields need to be maintained, but generally the building as well, to have an adequate business that is presentable to the users of that facility and that use. And in general, we are identifying the special use that youth training would be almost an accessory to the usage of those sports fields, and whether that entail an appointment for that youth training or if that's something that occurs in that building, we at least want to identify that as an accessory use for this site. In general, cricket club games are to occur on the weekends and during daytime hours only. That eliminated the need for a photometric analysis. No lighting is proposed because the applicant will be conducting those games during the daytime hours. And in general, that would be a seasonal activity as well, that it's not anticipated that there would be games or anything of that nature during the winter months as well. And in general, that those visiting the site would be on an appointment-only basis during the weekdays, that the intent is that the use of the cricket fields would be predominantly for the weekends only. And in general, the applicant has proposed approximately 30 trees. There are approximately 12 to 13 that are highlighted on here, but those are identified as unique species. There have been a proposal for at least a dozen or 2 crabapple trees, dogwood trees that would be able to fit in on the property based on the needs of the applicant when he's making those installations. So I made a request of the applicant to essentially respond to the Planning Commission hearing because there were a number of items that were essentially left undiscussed or up in the air, and I like the applicant to clarify a number of things for me, and essentially for this board hearing as well. And I'll speak to some of the points that he provided in the document that was available within the packet. And he has indicated a receptiveness to consider 2 cricket fields instead of 3 if really the impact of the number of people on the property is of issue. The applicant also made clear to reiterate the site suitability for the use given the specifics of the area. As well, he provided additional insight into the spectators, or the possibility of spectators on the site, that generally with club games, folks are going in between venues and typically not bringing spectators with them. And in general, he explained in that document the format of the club schedule, and generally, again, that the rotation between multiple venues would occur over the weekends. So in identifying water, something I didn't touch on in great detail during the Planning Commission hearing is that there is a shared well between the site and the property to the north. So when this 40-acre parcel was created, prior to that, it was an 80-acre parcel that was sold to the property owner and a different neighbor at that point. But the well was shared between those 2 properties. That permit was issued towards the end of 2020. I've put in some of the specifics for that well as well, but I'd like to highlight that that well was permitted for commercial and irrigation uses. a response that the Division of Water had caught in terms of livestock watering, that's one of those things that would not be included with that well permit. And if that's something that the applicant is pursuing, that he would be required to go to the Division of Water Resources to re-permit as well for that additional use. So in discussing access, I've completed a decent amount of research into the access to this property. And I'll kind of walk you through the colors that we have up here because this was a visual that I desperately needed for the Planning Commission hearing and did not have. So if we start up at the intersection of County Roads 102 and 41, we have an area of County Road 41 that is under county maintenance, but approximately, this is about 820 feet here, is covered within this access and utility easement established by the property owner over here in about 2007. And when the property owner of this, when it was 80 acres, established an easement along the north edge of this property, 60 foot, to be able to access this 80 acres. Further, when that 80 acres was split into two 40s, an additional easement was placed on the inside 60 feet along essentially this dividing line here of this property, of a 60-foot access and utility easement. There was some concern over the private road standards during the Planning Commission hearing. And in general, when we mention a type 1 gravel road, the following is applicable, that this is really a private road that will handle less than 200 vehicle trips per day. Based on our road and bridge manual, that would require at least a 60-foot wide easement or right-of-way for a private road. Generally, that road itself would have to be built to be at least 24 foot wide with 2 to 4 foot shoulders on either side and no parking applicable. But what had been applied from Elbert County Road and Bridge last year to access this site, irregardless of the special use by review, was for a private road that follows the purple balance here from the end of county maintenance to the subject property, although access had been established in this way as well. It was the applicant's choice, essentially, to utilize these easements for his private road. In looking at traffic, this was another topic that was covered during the Planning Commission hearing. In general, for our review, Public Works will filter any review that is necessary to the county engineer. The county engineer in particular didn't weigh in on this application. I had the opportunity to speak with him last week and provided him the traffic letter for his review so that we would have his comments. I do have those exact comments that he provided to me as an additional slide, since again, those were submitted about Friday of last week. So I can walk through them in detail, but pretty much the key points that he provided me is that threshold of vehicular traffic is 200 trips. And regardless of if we're anticipating 2 people to be carpooling to this site or 4, as long as those vehicle trips stay under 200, the recommendation of Elbert County will essentially stay the same. Once we get higher than 200, the necessity of upgrading that road to a higher classification to meet the needs of that demand would be necessary at that time. But in general, the traffic letter that was provided from the applicant, produced by Galloway and Company, had a relatively conservative estimate, and that's really how they had described it, that it would be 30 vehicle trips per weekend day, and that the assumption made on carpooling that it would essentially be 4 person per vehicle. The county engineer acknowledged that the assumption might be a little on the high end. However, it doesn't impact the recommendation that we would be able to provide on that traffic letter because, again, even if you play with the numbers or even reduce it to 1.5 as I put on there as the engineer had cited, it still wouldn't affect the county's recommendation in regards to that traffic letter. But in general, the Public Works Department will be conducting a traffic count at a later time once that use has been implemented. That's where we'll look to understand those traffic numbers and be able to make requests for improvements to any of the access points to that property. And that's something that will be determined at a later time, and that is something that we have conditioned for approval for this application. So in looking at some of the referral responses that we have here, when I was touching on water previously, that's essentially the comment I received from the Division of Water Resources, that if livestock watering is desired, that a new well permit would need to be applied for to include that use. The Public Health Department stated that septic permits must be applied for, typical with most all developments for OWTS on the site. And in general, if a food vendor is proposed for this use, that they would need to be notified and factored into that review to make sure that applicable any logistics or regulatory issues with food are adhered to. Public Works, again, will assess traffic counts at a later time and make a recommendation to CDS and the applicant if improvements will need to be made to County Road 41 or the private road that is to be installed by the applicant. And the Kiowa Conservation District as well provided a statement saying that weed control should be followed during the construction of the fields and following as well. So looking at the review criteria for a special use by review, staff has 8 criteria that factor into the consideration of our recommendation for this application. The 8 criteria are as follows. Whether the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. And I'd like to touch on that the applicant is proposing a recreational use of a limited impact to a primarily agricultural and residential area. The operating hours and scheduling of the use on the property will ensure that when the use's impact will be the highest, that it falls exclusively during the daytime and only on the weekends. This applicant is a professional within the cricket industry and has catered his special use requests based on his experience in the industry and as well his knowledge to be able to mitigate any impacts that might arise with this use in the future. Criteria B, whether the use will have an undue burden on available infrastructure. And in general, the burdens to infrastructure are not anticipated with this application, as the access road that will be constructed will be to road and bridge type 1 gravel road standards. And this is an application that the applicant has already filed with road and bridge for this means that he's already in the process of upgrading the infrastructure to the property. Whether the use will unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. We were provided a traffic letter from Galloway that had a number of assumptions on it for the number of trips that would be arriving at the property to be approximately 30. Whether or not we agree that that number is sufficient for this type of proposal or not, the Public Works Department has stepped in to say that traffic counts will be conducted at a later time once the use is going, and recommendations for improvements will be made whenever a determination on the final traffic count is available. And criteria D, whether the use will cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. And the recreational uses I'll touch on are not believed to cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. And really the only one of concern here for staff when this project was initially introduced was potentially in regards to lights. Even if you think of a baseball field, for example, if you start playing at night, you would anticipate that there would be lights going on. And very early in the process, the applicant was clear to state that there would be no lighting of this property, as games will only be occurring during the day. Criteria E, whether all sanitation requirements will be met. The applicant's not required to apply for septic at this point. So when that time comes, the applicant will have to work with the Elbert County Public Health folks to be able to get an adequate septic permit for the site and the use as he is proposing here. Criteria F, whether the use will be adequately landscaped, buffered, and screened. I'll touch on the fact that the applicant has included a significant amount of landscaping for the property, a number of unique trees that he is proposing, as well as a number of smaller trees to really fill in the gaps there. And in general, those areas will also be extended to the parking area and for the building as well. And given some of the water requirements and the potential for irrigation of these trees, we feel that the number of trees and landscaping that the applicant is proposing will be sufficient for this site. Criteria G, whether the use will otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. Staff has found that the cricket field use and accessory youth cricket training use will not be detrimental to present or future county residents. The applicant has proposed a daytime recreational use and will limit the use of his property to appointment only during the week. The applicant is well versed in the maintenance and upkeep of cricket fields and is proposing landscaping to further beautify the proposed fields and provide buffering and screening. The traffic letter that was submitted is leaning heavily on the carpooling of cricket players to the field for games, but Public Works will address that at a later time when traffic counts are official. And the implementation of any improvements have been conditioned into this approval for this application. And then looking at criteria H, whether there are any supplemental standards that are applicable to this particular use, staff has not found any supplemental standards that would be applicable. In general, the Planning Commission did not recommend approval of the requested special use by review for Quick World Sports Fields SU 220005. The staff recommendation for this application was for approval. In general, any decision made here by the BOCC would be subject to the conditions I'll cover on the following page, but our findings are based on that the proposal is in general conformance with the comprehensive plan, that the proposal meets the criteria for approval in the Elbert County zoning regulations, that the proposal is compatible with existing and allowable land uses in the surrounding area, and that the proposal will not result in the significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of residents and landowners in the surrounding area. The following conditions are, the applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of a decision by the Board of County Commissioners. The special use by review will not become effective until fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and pardon me on that typo, the special use by review exhibit is recorded, and that this recordation of appropriate documentation is to occur within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. The further conditions, that the applicant shall increase the size of the parking area if directed by the Elbert County zoning compliance official if the current parking area is found to be insufficient for the approved uses. Condition 5, that the applicant shall be responsible for all access improvements that may be required by Elbert County Public Works and/or Road and Bridge following a traffic assessment to be completed after the proposed use begins operation. And the last condition, number 6, that the applicant will revise the special use by review exhibit to contain the correct easement reference information. And really that was something that was discovered during the final reviews of this application, that the easement information that was provided on the special use exhibit was inaccurate, and staff was able to find the correct easement information and cite those for this final review essentially. And that will conclude my presentation on Crick World.
Any questions for staff at this time? I know, Matthew, I don't believe you were the original planner. Did you attend the community meeting or?
I did. There was approximately 5 to 6 individuals that were there, and a number of questions were asked during that meeting, of which the applicant was able to address very clearly how either those concerns that were raised would be mitigated, or if it was even an issue in the first place. For things like lighting, for example, he was able to state there was concerns about lighting, and he stated games will be conducted during the day, therefore no lighting is proposed. So conversations like that occurred during the community meeting, and the applicant was able to factor those into his application or address those concerns with the attendees of that community meeting.
Thank you. So with that, I'd invite the applicant if you could give your name and address for the record, sir, and I think we have some questions. So.
Hi, my name is Raja Mandiga. My address is 11931 Ridgeview Lane, Parker, Colorado, 80138.
Questions for the applicant?
Just give us a summary of what those questions that were asked in front of the Planning Commission or the public meeting were, and just kind of give us an overview. And the other thing is, I've never watched a cricket game in my life, so I don't know, are the fields dirt or grass, or are they? Just give me a description of what a field looks like.
Okay, to start off with the community meeting, the questions were asked was like the lighting, whether we have, we need a lighting to play the game, but these games are not played during the day, during the night or dusk time. It's finished almost like around 6 or 7 if it's a daylight, because referees will have a meter where they see the lighting of the ball, because the ball comes with the speed of 130 miles to the, it's like, it's a similar to it's similar to baseball. Only thing is the ball doesn't pitch. It directly goes and goes to the player when the pitcher releases the ball. But this ball goes onto the ground and goes into the directions, so he has to play. It's exactly, all the rules and regulations are very similar to baseball. Doesn't require any dirt or anything. It's a native grass, because the ball rolls on the ground, similar to baseball, and the pitcher holds it and then throws it back in the center of the ground. Other questions asked was about the noise. Was there any noise between the players during the game? This game is a strategic game, so they don't want to reveal anything to be heard by the players. So they come closer and discuss within them during the game, so there won't be any noise that way. And another question was, what is the other question was? I don't remember the other question, but I can answer about the audiences. These are the club games who are like adults mostly. They're all reputed IT engineers who work in different companies. They play a format game that is scheduled. There is a Colorado Cricket League organized by Colorado Springs. This has been done for last 20 years. They're playing. They don't have any grounds or anywhere to play. They're playing with the county fields, which is a baseball field, which is like triangular, but this requires a circle. And this is becoming also congestion to the residents. Already started complaining in various places, because that is meant for the residential baseball games and then for children and all that stuff. So I took this initiative 2 years back to provide them a standalone place where they can come from different places and play. And they played during the weekends. This game has 11 players to any time on a field, and 11 players will be sitting. And these are like clubs. They rotate around playing Fort Collins, Longmont, Colorado Springs. Some people come from Albuquerque. They come play in the weekends. So there won't be any audience, because nobody wants to come, because they come from different places. They come and play and they leave. And since you have not watched cricket, you can just visualize it similar to baseball. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, at this point, we'll open for public comment, and then we'll invite you back up. What I'd like to do is, we had, Mr. Downing did want to be called. Let's take the call first, and then we'll go to the room if we can't contact him.
Hello, this is Gary.
Mr. Downing, this is Commissioner Richardson. You had asked to be called for public comment on the cricket fields SUR.
Yeah, Gary Downing, 9603.
Thank you.
There's a couple of things that I wanted to address, and one of them is that it seems people get stuck in the arguing about easements and how they're going to be used and so forth. And there is plenty to talk about with regards to that. But these properties were addressed by this board several years back, and that's how the easements that are made were addressed then. And when it was done, under the assumption that these would be 35 to 40 acre lot residential kinds of properties, that's the kind of easement that's running back there. To have the kind of traffic and travel that is going back there on a spot that would normally be considered a driveway, trying to force it into a road is a completely different animal. It's no longer an easement, it's a road. And the fact that there's a gate on his property means nothing. You're still driving through two other properties to get to it on those easements that were considered driveways when they were originally rezoned. So that's a huge, huge issue. Secondly, we're talking about a property that is, for all intents and purposes, a commercial property. Again, in the middle of stuff that is residential, agricultural, and it's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere, in a piece of another business entity. The notes from the applicant and CDS talk about how there's going to be 15 or so cars on a given day, but you also look at the notes and he talks about having a third field. This is a sports arena. I mean, it's not a tennis court. It's not, you know, somebody's backyard where there's some people playing cricket. That's not what this is. This is a sports arena. One of the problems that goes along with something like this is the criteria that CDS uses in referring things that they call harmony. You have cattle ranches, alfalfa, goat herds, sheep herds. These are the kinds of things that go on out there. There's no logical way that somebody would be able to say a sports arena is something that fits out there and is in harmony with it. It doesn't match. So I really hope that you guys would take those things into consideration and not just let it happen because somebody says, well, it's my property and this is what I want to do with it. I understand that argument, but there's limits imposed on all of us. So that's what I would hope you guys really take into consideration. One of the people that spoke, I can't remember her name, Mr. Burton, I think, is on the Planning Commission. Is that the right name?
That is one of the planning commissioners, and you're kind of coming up on your 3 minutes, Gary, so if you had...
Last thing. He was the only person that went out to that property, and when he eyeballed it, he said, no, this doesn't fit here. So thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Are you watching the hearing, or are you just making your comment?
Well, I'm trying to watch the hearing, but I'm at work, so I get kind of pulled in two directions.
Understood. So this will also be recorded too. So we'll try to respond to all public comment once we're done in the room. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Righty. Have any public comment in the room on this? Sir.
My name is Roger Willie, 9490 County Road 102, Elbert, Colorado. I'm here to speak in opposition of Cricket World, and for many reasons. I hope I have enough time to hit all my points. First of all, I'd like to comment about this map. That green portion, which they're saying is County Road 41, does not meet standards of a road. First of all, it's only 15 feet wide. There's really no gravel on it. It's a really hard surface until it gets wet, and then it becomes very wet and slimy. Where the purple starts is halfway down my property. This easement runs through my property. So where they said it was 800 and some feet, it's actually over 1,200 feet. So why he wouldn't be on the hook to make improvements all the way to County 102, I don't know, because 2 cars cannot pass there. I don't know if any of you guys have drove out there, but the widest this road is 15 feet. Its narrowest point, it's 10 feet. Down towards the south end of that, it's a path. It's 2 wheel tracks. And the road, the driving surface is actually on the edge of that 60 foot. A ditch remains on the east side, so if 2 cars have to pass, that means they're going to be driving in and on my property to get past one another and tear up my pasture. I want to read something real quick here, which is in Colorado law. The scope of an easement prior to use, however, considered to be limited to the use that originally gave rise to that easement. This is not the original intent of this easement. This easement was to give the prior owner of that property a driveway and a means to get to his home. Colorado courts have outlined a specific line of inquiry determining proper scope of an easement acquired by prescription. In Wright versus Horse Creek Ranches, the Colorado Supreme Court adopted the approach outlined in Restatement of Property, State Statute 477 through 479, which provide guidance to determine whether a particular type of use is permissible under prescribable easement. The Wright Court looked to reinstate State Statute 478, which advises that the claimed use must be compared with the original use of the easement with respect to their physical character, their purpose, the relative burden caused by them upon the servient tenement. In considering whether a subsequent use of a prescriptive easement constitutes an expansion of the original use, the Wright Court further looked to reinstatement State Statute 479, which provides that, in addition to the factors noted above, courts should consider the needs resulting from the normal evolution of the use of the dominant estate, balanced against the extent of which those needs increase the burden placed on the serving estate. In weighing these factors, the Wright Court refused to permit the holder of the prescriptive easement acquired for agricultural use to subsequently use that easement for new residential and recreational uses. So, on this easement, as you're going south, there was just a sign placed less than 30 days ago that says end county maintenance. I don't know how they determined where to end the county maintenance, but that purple line is only about halfway down. As you can see, the lot above, these 3 parcels are mine, the 9490, the 24725, and the 24625 all belong to me and my wife. So our property line goes all the way up to the 2477, and I think it's 7. The green line goes through it. But anyway, if he's only got to improve that, so everybody's driveway, which are my 2 daughters, and the neighbor on the corner, are going to have to, we're going to be left with the mess that is left with that road in the green after a rain or a snow or what it might be. That road is not improved. It is not maintained. No matter what anybody says, it's not maintained. And so when it snows and whatnot, we're pretty much on our own as far as getting out of there. So that road becomes a mess when it gets wet. And I just don't believe that having this site back there, we really don't know how many cars are going to be crossing this. That's why the county is saying we're going to have to do a traffic study after it starts. Well, after it starts is too late. You know, we don't know what's gonna occur until all these cars start coming across there. 15, he's saying 15 trips per day.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry. Thank you, guys.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. And ma'am, I understand you had comments of your own and then comments from another neighbor.
I do. Thank you. Judy Willie, 9490 County Road 102. During some previous meetings with the Board of County Commissioners and previous CDS director, where you were removing requirements from documentation in the planning and zoning regulations, it was stated that SURs are to be held at a higher level of scrutiny and requirements. Neither the applicant nor the recommendation for the approval from CDS reflect any level of scrutiny or requirements. Many if, when, possibles, after, later. The application is purposely vague at best. Again, he has worked and has constructed 3 fields up there. Now we're gonna maybe kind of cut back to 2. They're there. 22 payers per field, 12 referees for those, 2 part-time employees, 80 with no family, no friends. It's fascinating that a sport like this that he's trying to find a out-of-the-way place for has no fans. But there's conflicting information throughout the application and the documentation. Traffic, let's start there. Undue burden on the infrastructure, and is this safe? Is this safe? This sign appears on the east side of County Road 41. As you approach County Road 41, it clearly states dangerous intersection. It's a blind intersection. Anyone leaving County Road 41, you can't see it, or County Road 41 turning onto it is problematic in that if you aren't used to the area, visitors coming, they're turning into potential traffic if they're not paying attention. And visitors on county roads, we all know, dirt roads, have no idea even the center line. Department of Public Works had questioned the fact of the traffic letter. The traffic letter, if you look at the traffic letter that's in your packets, it was taken on hearsay, 15 trips a day. It is what they heard from the applicant. That traffic letter mentioned nothing about a dangerous intersection. I took this, I happened to drive, I don't go that way very often, drove by it Sunday and took that picture Sunday. I know it's a dangerous intersection. I didn't know that the county had recognized it in the sign, but not in their documentation. How is this harmonious with the area? We have farms, we have ranches, we have animals, livestock. This is in no way harmonious with the surrounding area. This doesn't help the county. This is private club. There's commercial, what are the commercial impact fees on this? The maintenance, right now we're having a hard time even saying that he has to be responsible for building these roads in. There was discussion at the planning committee that he would hope that his neighbors would help him build these roads. Those roads that he's gonna have to build in that are 24 foot by 1 inch are gonna cost upwards of $100,000. We looked at that property that he recently, after this application, he sold that lower, or his partner, sold that lower piece to someone else. They had no idea this was going on. We looked at that property. Just to get to that property was over $54,000, and that was with friends that we knew. I'm asking the board to truly look at this. I ask that you deny this application due to the undue burden on the roads, the surrounding families. It's not safe, it is not in harmony, and that, we look at the fact that there are people that couldn't be here. Danny Wilcox stated in the planning committee meeting that, and talked to our CDS director, that the county's The easements weren't a county issue. It is, in fact, a county issue that when you look at those easements and what was granted with those easements as egress, ingress, and the state law, there is also another state law to reference regarding, it was a Supreme Court decision, Colorado Supreme Court, Lazy Dog Ranch versus Telluride Ranch Corporation, that found similarly that the original intent of that easement from County Road 41 back to the property, 24595, sorry, that original was ingress, egress to a residential property. If there's residences back there, ingress, egress to the property. So I respectfully request that you really look at this and hold that SUR to the standard that you indicated, and I think you were all on the board then, that we hold SURs to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Seeing nobody else present, I'll close public comment at this.
I have an email.
Oh, and then please share that. Yeah. Thank you.
My daughter, they couldn't be here. They own those two properties there. Tara Willie, 24725 County Road 41. This is from Tara. I just built my dream home in the area. My family and I decided, because of its serene characteristics, the increased traffic and noise pollution on the proposed use is something that I do not care for. I am very concerned with the volumes of traffic that will pass by my family's properties. County Road 41 is hardly maintained. We often rely on each other, friendly neighbors, to get ourselves to 102 in the winter. And then often there are ruts after rainstorms until they are worn away from us driving on them. Also, we have experienced people involved with the property passing by at excessive speeds. How will this be managed? Comments in the packet mention carpooling and the main mode of transportation. Can you really take their word for that? When and how will traffic counts be taken? How will that play into the role making the decision? It will be a burden on available infrastructure and existing road system. I would like to know if the current access follows the correct easement. Other concerns unrelated to traffic, in an agricultural context, there is mention of no detrimental effect on soil stability or groundwater supplies, and should not change runoff characteristics of said land. If this is any concern with 3 flat fields, is the SUR permit revisited? If so, when? How often? Will there be checks to ensure the agricultural use that's proposed or mentioned in the application? Please ask yourself, in all, is a sports complex harmonious and compatible with the surrounding area? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So with that, I will close public comment at this time. Have any comments or questions?
I'd like to hear how we respond.
Okay, please. Sir, if you could.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
There's a couple of significant questions there. One is County Road 41. I think that they were asking you to upgrade that road a little bit, perhaps put some gravel on the part that's already there, and then build the rest of it up to the county specifications.
Yes.
The one question, though, that I have is the right-of-ways. is there, and I didn't read them, so is there any limitation on the use of those right-of-ways? Easements, yes.
It's a private road, like into my property, coming on the side of the fences of the, if you see that purple line,
Yes.
that is across the fence, just besides the fence, and the easement is a private road into my property.
Yeah, I didn't ask my question right, I guess. Is, of those easements, are there included in the legal documentation?
Yes, sir.
Are there legal restrictions to their use?
I didn't see any legal restrictions. It's recorded in the county as a easement for us to get into the property because this particular property is landlocked.
Yes.
We don't have any access from any other place. And so this is the only way we have, which is recorded in the county as a private easement.
Yeah, I understand that, but I still, the question that these people seem to bring up was there's some implied restrictions to it. And when I read the documentation, I didn't see those.
I didn't see any legal restrictions on the easements. And another question I want to ask here is like, if you look at the properties, my property is deep, like almost like the 80 acres parcel, which is split into 40. The 40 acres is my neighbor, and then these are surrounding neighbors very far away from my property. I'm deep inside, and I also want to request you, like I see so many Boy Scouts, horse trainings, night events that happens with horse, with trucks, trailers, and everything. We are just trying to request you on a diverse cultural. We come from an Indian background. We don't do any kind of nuisance to anyone. We do our job and we leave. This is something, this is not a sports arena or a stadium or a complex or nothing like that because I'm a single person here. I don't have that much amount to even invest. It's only a recreation purposes in the weekends to play. So they come and they go, and they have been doing this with all the counties without even a single issue till date within Colorado or any of the states in the United States. And I request you to see, if this is an issue, I would also request a county to chip in and see what are my neighbors were asking about. Yes, if it is a rain and snow, even I can't go. Nobody can go, it's done. If you can help us to improve those county road 41s that is suitable for everybody's needs, that will be a great help for us. And on the private road, yes, as per the specifications, 24 feet wide and with crown and all that stuff, yes, I'm prepared to do that because if that is not done, it's not feasible to anybody to drive. Right now I have cleared the driveway, but it's a lot of money. I want to do it just for the sake of that is important, like that is required, that I'm accepting for that.
I just have one more question.
Yes, please.
That was the one that was brought up by the public here. Is the intersection of 102 and 41, was there any comments about that from Public Works or?
No comments, and I have been in and out for so many times. I have not even seen that board till now. Like I did not realize it, because pretty much it is empty all the time. But everybody is an individual responsible drivers. They have to take care of themselves, and then we can also put a word of caution for them if that kind of intersection is there to take care of, because we have the clubs that are centralized. We tell them how to behave, what to do, what not to do. So this can be added into one of those rules and regulations that they have to follow for the intersection.
My one comment is I think we need to get clarification on the prescriptive easements in the statute you were stating, because I think there's a difference between a prescriptive easement and one that's been deeded. So I think we need to get clarification, because if it's been deeded as ingress and egress versus a prescriptive, I agree you can't increase, but I'm not sure if that's the case with a deeded easement. I think it's two different situations, and I think we need clarification on that.
I would agree. Has that clarification been made, or?
Yeah, Commissioners, the documentation that I provided with the staff report shared the deeds where I've identified those easements. The only thing I don't have record of is this green portion here. In my report, more or less, I have a document that shares what language is on this easement, all three of these for that matter, and their general courses. And I had that documentation put in with the packet. I just reviewed it just now and didn't find any limitations in my second or third run through of this. So I can always speak to that it's identified as an access easement, particularly for that white one, which would go east to west. Whereas access and utility for this yellow portion here and for this pink one as well. So I provided the correction deed that's associated with this pink one from the property owner that was located here. As I touched on previously, the 60-foot that's right here was created when this 80 acres was created. And then this 60-foot access and utility was deeded when this property was split as well.
It's my understanding on a prescriptive easement, it may not have been deeded. It's right that people have been using it for a while, and that is where the prescriptive easement comes from the deeded. So I think we need a clarification on that just to make sure that whether that statute you were citing really applies or not on the definitions. Well, I don't know. I think we need to get it. I don't know how you can approve something based on the, without getting a legal opinion on that.
Yeah, I would agree. So I think we're probably looking at a continuance today, but I would, absent those issues, because of the way this was written and traffic counts after the fact, potential, not only traffic counts, but potential expansion of parking, I would like to see a condition that would trigger, there would be a review of the SUR if the traffic, if this is all based on a specific statement of how much traffic, how much parking is needed is kind of related to traffic, but if either of those were to change, I think it would have to trigger a review of the SUR in total, not just a direction from staff to improve the road or to increase traffic.
And also I have mentioned that I can compromise on having only 2 fields instead of 3 fields. Really, the third field is not meant for anything, if really that's an issue.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the other, just I note to Mr. Downing's comments earlier, unless there was a hearing before the commissioners long ago, 35-acre lots wouldn't have they'd be created by survey and sale. They never would have come through a land use hearing process. So unless it was way back when 60 acres was the smallest agricultural lot, and these were made then, but that was quite a while ago. Yeah, so, but.
And the only thing I'd add to that, I'd like to, on the road thing, is have some Public Works comments with respect to the intersection.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same, I think, in that, and, if we are maintaining the green portion of 41, I think we kind of need to read from Public Works on, the condition does not sound like we're treating it the same as all other county roads. I understand winter can be a mess and you wouldn't be operating the fields in the winter, but
normally, even if it rains, we don't, it's called off. And one small request, and I have been looking for the properties for cricket fields around Colorado for so long. I have chosen this because this has an irrigation and commercial well, which is not available anywhere within the vicinity of any of the counties, even Douglas or anywhere. So even Elizabeth, I have seen 2-3 properties, but this is something, a requirement for any kind of sports that need to be played. So that was a major thing. So I request you to consider, and then definitely we'll follow all the laws. We'll respect the neighbors and everything. And it's a very decent game. They come and they leave. That's it.
okay,
Thank you, sir.
I understand that. I think just because of the issues raised, I don't think it would be right for us to make a decision and then leave you in a legal, you know,
Yeah, sure.
in a legal bind as well.
Yeah.
So I would,
Commissioners, before you go ahead
Yeah.
there, I'd just like some clarification for myself. So the information you are requesting is in particular and only for that portion that's identified in green as County Road 41?
I guess there's two pieces, as I understand. One is we need to know a little more from Public Works on the adequacy of the intersection of 102 and 41, and then really, I mean, if county, that portion is county maintained, it needs to be county maintained, and that's...
Understood. I'll look to provide a
So,
statement from them.
And then if we could coordinate with the county attorney on just examining the issues that were raised, and sir, you had cited some cases, it would be useful for staff to have those to have our county attorney look at, but I would like to have a continuance, I think, until our next meeting is the 24th of August. And
Okay.
Yeah, and this is in your interest that we go this way because we'd have to put about a dozen conditions of approval on if we didn't do this. It's better to solve the problems up front. And
I appreciate that, sir.
okay, then I move that we defer the Crick World, continue the Crick World Cricket Sports Fields SUR SU 22-0005 to August 24th at 1 p.m.
Sure, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you.
motion and a second to continue to August 24th at 1 p.m. at this location. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So, and I would accept a motion to close hearing on this at this
I'll
time.
make a motion, we close hearing on Cricket Fields SUR case SU-22-0005.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to close public hearing at this time on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's closed. That's the last of the business we have before us. So I'd accept a motion to adjourn for the day.
I'll
So
make a
moved.
motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is 2:52 and we are adjourned. Thank you.